Hey everyone, welcome to my channel Wahan and More. So today's review is going to be a premium car review, and this is about Hyundai Tucson. My friend Samit, who stays in the apartment, has recently purchased this. So let me go and check it out and see how this car does and all the features, etc. etc. Come over. Okay, let's go and meet Mr. Samit in his parking lot and then get a view of his car. Hey Samit, morning.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. So this is your beauty.
Yes.
It looks beautiful. She looks gorgeous. So this is Hyundai Tucson, so the premium car which we're going to review today, and there is Samit here, the owner, proud owner in fact. Switch on there. Just look at the light. It's just so brilliant and beautiful it is. So how's the headlight throw and all? It's adequate?
This is more or less adequate, I would say.
More or less
Like,
adequate.
It's adaptive also.
It's an adaptive.
You
Okay.
can object
Okay. So let's go and take a short drive and then probably check out the features and then how it drives and then hear more about this car from Mr. Samit. Okay? Thank you. Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome to my channel Wahan and More. So today, as I said, it's going to be a premium vehicle review, and I'm with Mr. Samit here. Hi Samit.
Hey, hi.
Thank you for the interview. So basically, we have some few parameters on which we normally review in my channel. So, so let's start with the first thing. First of all, congratulations, a very premium looking car, right? Hyundai Tucson. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So first thing first. So what are the key factors what you had in mind before you decided to buy this? Number one. Number two is, what are the cars which you compared before you actually bought this one?
Okay. So, honestly speaking, just to give you a bit of a history, I started. This is my third car. So the first car was the beautiful Sandro.
Okay.
As you know, the really comfortable in a city.
Mm-hmm.
And then after driving that for some number of years, then I switched into the SUV, which was Duster.
Okay.
And just to give you bit of my preference, at that point of time, actually I compared pretty much against head-to-head with Hyundai Creta.
Okay.
Just for one reason I opted for Duster is just the drive,
Okay.
the drive and handling,
Okay.
because I'm not necessarily a very feature-heavy guy,
Okay.
And then after some number of years, then I kind of decided time to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, compared to the time when I purchased Duster,
Mm-hmm.
and now the choices are many.
Many, yeah, correct.
And it's also coming up and the bigger question is that should I wait for another year?
Yeah.
Because you get news this is coming, that is coming.
Okay.
So if I have to really think about which is really the exactly the car in this segment where I can compare, I think it's going to be very difficult from that point
Right.
of view.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
In a global market, because I typically also see a lot of reviews.
Right.
Probably the ideal head-to-head in a global market scenario is the Kia Sportage or
Okay.
the Honda CR-V,
Right.
but those are not really available in Indian market.
Correct. Correct.
Now, purely on the parameter point of view, the features point of view, if I think about, then probably the head-to-head is the Citroen C5 Aircross,
C5 Cross,
okay.
Uh-huh.
But you can bring in Skoda Kodiaq,
Okay.
Volkswagen Tiguan.
Uh-huh.
And I think you can bring in also, for example, even Jeep Compass to some extent.
Correct.
Now I'll tell you, so based on what parameters I've kind of decided this.
Okay. Okay.
So the first vehicle I went for a test drive was the Jeep Compass.
Uh-huh.
It's a nice vehicle. I
Okay.
think its drive quality is really nice. But
Okay.
primarily for one reason, I didn't really
Right.
was super excited.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really feel an upgrade from a Duster purely on the dimension.
Oh, really? Okay.
The size.
Okay.
I needed something
Which is much bigger.
Not super bigger, but kind of bigger. But at the same time, I was looking for a 5-seater.
5-seater.
Primarily.
Okay.
I didn't mind also 7-seater.
Okay.
And one more vehicle also in that list is of course the super popular Fortuner. You cannot ignore that.
Okay, Fortuner.
And then I kind of tried all the others, and just to give you the context, the why I said probably the perfect the candidate from a head-to-head comparison is Citroen C5 Aircross. It's just because both are diesel, you know,
Okay.
and this Tucson also have the petrol and diesel, but
Yes.
I primarily was inclined to diesel.
Diesel. Okay.
Just for one reason, diesel is diesel. I mean,
I know.
but from emission or whatever standpoint, I can understand why petrols are getting popular. Petrol cars are
Yeah.
very popular, but
Yeah.
there is a fun in driving diesel car
Diesel
purely from a
cars.
power standpoint.
And especially in Hyundai, obviously, it's much
yeah.
more refined and.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And at the same time, since I was watching a lot of reviews
Okay.
and also the global reviews, it's a global model.
Global
First of all, we have to understand,
Yes.
so it's not necessarily something which is only popular in India or few countries.
Right,
It's
right.
extremely popular in Europe and
Correct.
somewhat popular, I would say, in US.
US also, yes.
Just because if you go there, you see, you will be seeing Tucson for sure.
Yes, yes.
I'm not very sure which generation, but for sure you'll be seeing.
In fact, the naming itself is on an American city itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So therefore, I think from an overall global acceptance standpoint, there was no doubt. Okay. But at the same time, if you think about the previous generation of the Tucson and this particular generation, if you think the design elements and other things, I think they brought in a significant change.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Somehow, I was not liking the back seat in the previous Tucson for
Okay.
whatever reason. Maybe the window was smaller, or but this is something significantly different.
Different.
And the first impression is wow.
Okay.
So I started tracking start from launching.
Okay.
I would say when the car got launched in India,
Right.
and at the same time I keep visiting the showroom.
Right.
There was a huge waiting period.
Yes.
There was I already had a discussion at that point of time. Given the fact that the car got just launched, there was
Yeah.
no discount.
Yeah.
Now these are another tips. And especially you are going for something luxury or super luxury in that segment.
Yeah.
Ideally, and I'm a very opportunistic guy from that
Okay.
point. The window is December and January.
Yeah.
When
Yes,
all the manufacturers are trying to clear their stock
Yeah.
of that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it happened within few weeks. I was and that's why I was talking to the Advait Hyundai in Residency Road. And it looks like everything met in terms of the parameters.
Okay.
So
Okay. Correct.
but luckily I got whatever I wanted.
Okay.
And then everything clicked, and then finally decided purely from a test drive and all the things point of view, hey,
Okay.
this is a car. And
So this model is exactly which month it is and year?
this is 2023 model,
23 model, 23
but if you think about the 2024 also,
Okay.
there is hardly any difference,
Hardly
except the
any
fact that the chassis number will be with the
Right,
year.
right.
By the way,
Ah.
interestingly, Hyundai Tucson also has a new variant which got launched, I believe, primarily in Korea as well as some countries in Europe. Not huge change, but if you see the videos, definitely there is a change in the the layout, the dashboard.
Yeah.
And there are few changes here and there, for example the headlamps and all, but
Right.
more or less the car remains as it is. So
As it
I
is,
didn't
yes.
really want to wait as opposed to, let's say, Skoda Kodiaq.
Okay.
That's why I'll be telling you also what are the key USP during the time of test drive as well as right now.
Okay.
I think the only vehicle left from a head-to-head standpoint or price bracket and everything was Citroen.
Citroen. Okay.
But I was not necessarily very excited because of the fact that I felt it's a very limited network what they are
Yes.
having. It's a beautiful car,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Feature-wise, I would say definitely this is much ahead of that.
Much ahead of that. Service-wise is fantastic. This
Exactly.
is
It's a Hyundai network. But you have to keep in mind, the Tucson not eligible for all the service center. There is, but we have this one near to our house, and
Yeah.
so it works fine with.
How
me.
long you waited for this model to be? Was it
There is another tips
Yeah. Okay.
So as I said, the December and January window, if you really get your ideal match, you pretty much have no waiting period.
No waiting period. Okay.
Yes.
So in your case, it was
ready. It was ready.
Oh, fantastic.
Just
Okay. Otherwise, it's a
the
long waiting
registration,
list is what I
of
heard
course,
about.
So
Okay.
just think about 7 or 8 months back when I was inquiring, there was almost a 2 to 3 months waiting
Yeah,
period.
exactly. That's
yeah.
what. That's
So I don't really understand how this supply chain works, but
Okay.
that is another interesting point, or the USP of purchasing in that window.
right.
Now coming back to the options left, I really like Kodiaq, but as I said, anyway they are going big in terms of the upgrade.
Yeah.
Another thing is that always I had that in back of my mind the issue with the DSG gearbox, because though they claim that it's completely resolved, but you never know.
Never know.
And
Exactly.
it's a petrol car, but it's a beautiful engine,
Okay.
no doubt about
So
that.
basically, your preference was that you're a 5-seater And you wanted a diesel, definitely.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Right? Even though
Exactly.
there are some regulations.
I mean, I didn't mind petrol. For example, I was thinking about Kodiak, and I only have the petrol choice.
Right.
They have stopped producing diesel car in India.
Okay. What is
And
the on-road price of this one for you?
On-road price, I think the thing is that I really got it was part of the exchange of the Duster and everything.
Duster, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the X. I can give you the X showroom. X showroom is around 35.
35. Okay.
But if you consider everything, the road taxes, and as you know, Bangalore, everything is pretty high.
Okay.
So with everything, it comes around 44 to 46. But I would say, with the exchange of Duster and everything together, I really struck a good deal.
Okay. So and then dealership experience was good for you?
Fantastic. It was
Fantastic. This is what the outer road you said. Right.
No, this is the residency road.
Residency road. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And I can also refer, there was a person named Yadukumar. So he pretty much helped me.
Excellent.
It was really nice. I would always recommend. Yeah.
Okay. And how many kilometers you have done on?
Okay, so there is another thing. So whatever the review we are going to do today, with a disclaimer that it is the initial fill,
Right.
because just it's showing 1006 kilometer.
Okay.
So there are a lot of things probably I can tell with a lot of confidence, maybe after a year or after 6 months.
So this 1,000 kilometers you have done mostly city, or you have done outskirts? And
I've done city, I have outskirts, but outskirts are not necessarily a full blown trip to Mysore or Coorg or whatever, but it was a morning breakfast trip to Tatedli to Birdi,
okay.
or the A to B on the Hasur road.
So was it smooth like a Tatedli or?
Yeah, I definitely liked the Tatedli. It was amazing.
I'm saying the vehicle drivers also smooth as a
they're just awesome, and given that the new Mysore road, the expressway.
Okay.
So now coming to probably some of the USPs. Okay, and as I've told you, Hyundai is always known for feature.
Correct.
Okay, I mean this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But the fact this car, and why, as I said, from my previous car, I didn't hesitate to reject Creta, but for this, I think the drive quality, the ride and handling is just amazing.
Absolutely. And then the engine, obviously, it's got very powerful.
It is exactly. It is turbo. It is super powerful engine.
Exactly.
For a city ride, it is overpowered.
bhp.
Exactly. So for a city ride, it is overpowered. I will not get into the 0 to 100.
Yeah, that's not the point.
That doesn't matter to me because I'm not really in a F1.
Okay.
But when I drive in a highways, it's ample power.
Absolutely.
Ample power, and even in the city also,
huge torque. It is 416.
Exactly. No, but even in the city also, I can tell you, not in a head-to-head traffic, but let's say this traffic, whenever you have some space, you really can beat the other cars very easily. Easily.
So good power actually.
Exactly. So I think I would say that number one is really the ride and handling.
Handling, absolutely.
It's just amazing.
You can feel it actually. See, and the noise level is hardly anything.
I'll come to that. So only thing I have heard in the reviews, it's not coming from me. I think given the design, it's slightly high compared to few other SUVs or whatever. So you have probably the bit of in the corners. It may not be exactly as smooth as a sedan. That's a typical problem with any.
That's fine.
That's a typical issue with any SUV,
Yes.
So that's the one thing really big USP.
Okay.
The second thing I would say, what you can feel is that, I'm driving a diesel car, and already there are a few folks kind of mentioned, hey, is it a petrol?
I am one of them actually.
Yeah.
When I did test drive, I just asked the guy.
Yeah. So the engine refinement.
Yes.
And also the insulation.
Yes.
Both combinedly,
Yes.
I have hardly any noise inside the cabin.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's really smooth.
Absolutely.
So that is
I agree with you on that.
So that is another aspect. The third thing is that I didn't bring few of the cars also, and now I'll give you the example. So of course I could have considered Harrier also, okay. I could have considered Safari also, It's not the same price point, but definitely like SUV at the end of the day, okay. Like SUV what we are getting, and they are quite popular also,
But then another premium point of view, I think
another reason is so this is slightly on the higher side because of its CKD. It's not getting manufactured. The parts are not getting manufactured.
That's another point. So it's a completely knocked down.
Exactly. So they're just assembling here. So if you kind of already probably have sense the plastic and everything, it's very premium. Okay.
Yes.
I would say still may not be in the league of Skoda. So they have a different definition of premiumness, but like an European versus a Korean. But it's extremely premium.
Exactly.
Overall, the seat, if you feel seat is really good. And if I now get into the features, there are really good useful features. I'll come to the downside.
So that when you do an interior also, we will talk about it. Exactly.
So there are a lot of good features.
Yes.
And I would say end of the day what the price you are paying, what you are getting. Of course there is a standard Indian we have the mindset, because typically we are, including me also, like, we are very value for money, consumers.
Exactly.
So why should I spend another 10 lakhs? But I was totally convinced, because when you start comparing with Harrier or Safari, of course you can raise the question.
Correct.
But on the other hand, when you start comparing with the other premium segments, like the X1 or whatever, I was totally convinced that this is a car.
This is much more cheaper.
This is cheaper. This is bigger, and this is quite premium also.
And loaded with features.
Exactly. Okay. So as a whole, that kind of helped me to make the decision.
And who else drives in your family?
I'm the only driver.
You're the only driver right now. Okay. So you're very comfortable, and then, as you said, it's loaded with features. So we'll probably stop somewhere and then we'll take a close shot of all the features. But as you said rightly, what are the mileage and other things what you get?
As I said, it's very early days. This is like any other things which is getting tuned over the time. So right now probably I would say inside the city somewhere around 8 to 10. But I have a feeling it will increase.
Like the AC is fantastic. It is just
I'll come to the feature also. Whatever the AC or so if you see this, you can also
see all the
holes.
So diffusing.
Exactly. They have a now it's on a diffused mode.
So
the AC, the wind is not hitting you.
Exactly. So, very good it is actually. Very useful. Very useful. I think this is the only car which has got this feature.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a good feature.
In
and
the
also,
segment,
and also there's something called as quiet mode which I saw where you can actually switch on the music only for the front and then the back.
I can adjust all the things. But as I said, typically the Hyundai cars are there so many features. I probably currently know the 10 or 20%
of the ADAS level 2. So
So that is another.
I just saw one where the blind spot. It started beeping actually.
Exactly. So now I'll be very pragmatic, So I have driven in US primarily, So as you can see, those are the blind spot indicators, on the both the side mirrors, That's really helpful. That's kind of give you the indication as well as the red warning.
Correct.
It's really helpful for your highway drive, For the city, the question is that it generally gives you warning, but I think you need to take the call finally.
You need to take the call. Exactly.
Because in the city, if you go by that warning, maybe you cannot overtake cars. So that's because typically the speed is very less. But highway is very helpful.
So what do you do? Switch off the ADAS?
No. I don't. No, that you cannot switch off. That is nothing to do with ADAS also. Now coming to the ADAS, this is ADAS level 2, which means it has both the front and rear. The radar.
Correct.
Now that is an interesting thing, because typically from the showroom they kind of advise me, hey, while you are driving in the city, you can switch it off. Now I have tried that. Even right now I'm driving it in a switched off mode. But I can switch it on also, But typically in city and in Indian condition, is ADAS or ADAS 2, whatever, is it really a killer? I would say it's an okay thing. But at the same
there
time,
are a lot of reviews on Team BHP where some guys actually have been saved because of ADAS.
Exactly. Now I'll come to the ADAS. Though I mean, because I've never driven an ADAS car, so therefore I initially wanted to switch it off, but I've tried driving with that even within city itself. I would say it completely depends on your driving habit and how disciplined you are.
Right. Exactly.
So my general so far my observation is that if you're a disciplined driver, if you try to keep in the same lane, if you don't do all this zigzag, I think ADAS is going to really help you, because for me also a couple of occasions, let's say I have a vehicle in my front and when I'm on high speed, it really helped me to
what about lane departure?
Lane is fantastic, but as you know, inside city doesn't work, but when you're out, even in Hosur Road also, when I was on for a breakfast ride, it didn't really help me because there's a lot of traffic.
There's a lot of traffic.
Maybe some zone of the Mysore Road or whatever, where you don't really have any traffic. That's why lane assist generally help you. But ADAS in general, I think it's too early for me. But I have seen the indications where actually it can help me, and there is a misconception that it generally brake abruptly. It's not. It brakes somewhat, I'm not very sure what is the percentage, but maybe at a 40% or a 50%.
I think it's an adaptive thing, right?
Exactly.
So based on the distance and then slowly.
But it doesn't brake completely like 100%. It will So therefore, I think it's a feature definitely, and I think it is one.
It's a useful feature definitely.
It's a safety feature. It's a safety feature, but the bigger question is that all these things comes with the question of how reliable, how well tuned, and how well tested. I think I can say that it's really widely tested.
Exactly.
So and hence one can rely on that.
Yeah,
like
absolutely. So look at the noise levels is absolutely insulated.
Yeah.
It's a diesel engine what we're driving. We don't have any sound as
yeah,
such.
exactly.
And, right. It's
and one thing connected to the ADAS. Now overall safety. There are many other features, but I think. I'm not a very technical guy, but whatever the rating I have seen, the NCAP rating, it's a 5 out of 5.
It's 5. It's 5. It's
Yeah.
5. It is 5 in Euro NCAP as well as Australian NCAP.
Exactly.
It's just that in India it's still not tested, but obviously it's the same imported vehicle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then it's going to go the same 5-star as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So in that way, I think it has
It's a safety car.
6
airbags.
6 airbags. Yeah.
Curtain airbags and all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So and it has got all the features of VBS, ABD, and whatnot, whatever is required.
Traction control
Right? And then
yeah.
it has it's going to have a 5-star for sure
Yeah.
when it is tested.
Yeah.
And it has got panoramic sunroof. Obviously, you've used the sunroof all over the place, or only when you go
It's now
outside?
open, but it depends. For example, now it's a morning and the sun is not that too bright.
Correct.
Otherwise, I generally keep it closed.
Closed.
Yeah.
Okay. Voice assisted, right? Anyway, Hindi and English, I believe. Any other language?
I've tried English.
Okay.
I've not tried the other languages, but as I said, it's early days for me. I need to
Exactly,
I need to try that.
And it comes with an 18 inches wheel, so obviously it makes a lot of difference in terms of driving.
Yes. That is another thing. 18 inch wheel, meaning while you are on highways,
absolutely.
you just enjoy your ride.
Did you find any body holes? Now as you go on the humps, I can see the software suspension.
So that's what I told you. It somewhat has that adaptive. I'm not very sure to what extent. So on the highway, on a higher speed, I think the steering is somewhat then becomes stiff. So which is helpful.
Okay.
But the inside city, and as I was connecting to my first point, because end of the day, my 70, not 70 watt, it's probably 90% of the drive will be inside city. So therefore, I really need something which is easy to drive within the city, all the cuts or whatever.
Right,
the steering is a gem here. The car looks very big and whatever,
Yes.
But while I'm driving, it's I'm getting that my sunroof is.
This is a 4730 mm. I think it's almost like SUV's length.
Exactly.
But it's a 5-seater.
Yes.
So that way it gives you a lot of space, right?
Yeah. So from that ride quality handling standpoint, especially in the city, I'm still getting the bit of that the as if I'm driving a small car, the steering standpoint, whatever. Nice. So that is another interesting point.
Okay, so the GNCAP we talked about, and then obviously safety-wise we talked about. Then you're happy, as I can gauge from what you're talking. You've done a lot of research on this car before you picked it up. And this is a CKD version, so this is the reason why it's a little on the premium side. But then probably once Hyundai starts manufacturing in India, then maybe the cost might come down a little bit.
Yeah, might come down. But
I think there is a 7-seater version coming up. That's what I read. But it's still not. It's maybe in the conceptual stage right now. It's
so lot of features, but I'll tell you some of the top things which are really helpful.
Yes.
So it has the ventilated seats. Okay.
Yes.
Both the seats, both the front seats, which is not many of that segment provides.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And it is really helpful.
And it's really required.
It's really,
India,
it's really helpful. So that's the one thing.
Okay.
That's the one thing. The second thing is that I think it's very standard in the premium segment. So I'm not going to but it has the memory, and both the front seats are power seats.
Okay.
So it has the boss mode also. This seat, somebody if you're
from the back, you can
adjust. So those are, as I said, Hyundai is always heavy on features.
Features.
So these are they have not really hesitated to give those features, which typically for example, car like Fortuner, and Fortuner is it's extremely popular, but it is also
much more costlier.
But it is always I think the one area where people complain that it doesn't have any feature.
I think even it doesn't have a 360-degree camera also.
Yes.
That's
and here the another thing is the 360-degree camera is amazing. The resolution and the quality.
Yes, I've seen. I've done Creta and Alcazar review recently.
Yeah, but this is one notch.
One notch above.
Yeah, one notch above.
Check that out as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now the downside, if you ask me, the downside probably if you tell me what are those?
Some of the things which you think should be there, not there.
Yeah, but I'll tell you those are not really showstoppers. But I'll give you the example. I mean the rationale also behind that. One is it doesn't have a wireless charger. Okay. But at the same time, while I was reading the feedback,
it doesn't have a wireless charger, or it does a
sorry, it does
Android Auto.
Sorry, my bad. It has a wireless charger, but it doesn't have a wireless CarPlay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, whatever I've heard from the feedback in Team BHP is that I think it's a nice feature in terms of gimmick, but there is a lot of complaints about the phone, getting overheated.
Yeah.
If you don't use the cable.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't mind putting the cable inside the phone and then everything's
Right.
fine. So therefore, it's not a showstopper.
Right.
Second thing, I would say the ADAS feature. For example, can I really switch it off permanently, especially the front collision warning, only warning mode?
Right.
No, I mean during the drive I can switch it off, but again when you start, you need to manually switch it off. So, but it's a safety feature. Therefore, from a Hyundai's angle, I think they didn't want to compromise. So they want it has to be standard default feature. So that is the one thing you can find it as a pen, but it's okay. I mean, as I said, because initially, you are worried about, hey, ADAS 2, how does it behave or whatever, but otherwise, if you're really familiar with that, then it's not a headache for you, I think I would say those are really the few points.
I think there was one more which I had noticed or observed was when I reviewed Alcazar, for example, they have the sun blinds. I think
yes, that is the one thing during my purchase.
It's a very nice thing to have, actually.
Exactly, I asked the dealer, and they said no. I mean, Tucson doesn't have, Again, it's not as kind of a showstopper. And at the same time, I was getting the feedback that hey, it's actually against the traffic laws, the whatever, if you are.
No, I think the film is against, but then the
I don't know,
seems to be okay.
Yeah, but you're right, that is the one thing, generally, Skoda or whatever has seen that.
Yeah.
So it's probably, definitely a good feature, especially in Indian conditions.
Exactly.
True, I agree, you can do an kind of somewhere else, you can fit it, but generally, the advice I got it, I mean, they have to open the door and everything. I'm not very sure, how it's going to be.
The thing also, I also found out in the reviews and whatever I read, the spare wheel, you get a full-size spare wheel here.
Here, no, that is another thing interesting. I'll give you the the rationale behind that. So this is diesel. You will get the full-size spare wheel for the petrol.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I see.
And that is really helpful because one of my dear friend in the apartment only suggested me that's a good thing because when you go for a service you keep rotating.
Yeah, exactly.
But unfortunately diesel vehicles don't have that because of the the urea, the tank,
I see.
And since that is occupying a space, they have
one size less.
Exactly,
And this is an AWD 4-wheel drive version, right?
Yeah. So another thing is this is a 4-wheel drive version.
Okay.
They call it H-Track.
Yeah.
Now, how does it work, and whether there is a button or anything in the dashboard? No, I mean it just
automatically senses.
Yes, automatically senses.
Okay.
There is a speed window in which only it operates.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, great. Okay, so you've tested somewhere?
No, I have not tested.
Planning to?
Maybe somewhere you need some
rough
terrain or whatever.
Right.
But the thing also again you have to understand many a times I reviewed and I kind of I thought about do I really need a 4-wheel drive or whatever. The fact that is that what we all need living in a city like Bangalore, we really need an urban SUV. That's it. Okay. I don't think anywhere I'm going to do a off the road or whatever
true. But at the same time, having that maybe it will be useful in the situation you go outside.
Especially I'm not very sure about the South India, but let's say you're trying to do a Ladakh trip or North India, the Himalayas.
True.
Complete sense.
It will come handy somewhere.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's true. Okay, great. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so that's a lot of information from Sumit. That's about the car. So what we'll do is we'll probably pick up a small lane which is quiet, and then we'll do a shoot internally, right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.